Morning, boss. This week's income from the sponsors has cleared, and we're making good profit against our running costs.
Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, episode number 29 today for the Monaco Grand Prix. If you guys did miss the previous one at Spain, it was a very difficult Grand Prix, let's say. I mean, the title says it all, really, so if you did miss that one, be sure to check that one out before you see the rest of this one. But Monaco, happy hunting grounds, actually. You know, the first season went really well. We had that bonkers strategy where we went long, extended the dry stint, it started to rain, and we were able to cobble together, I think it was P5 in the end, so that was then our best race result finish. Of course, now the best race result finish for us is P2 personally, and obviously Sainz has got a P1 win at Zandvoort, so we'll have to see how it goes. The car should be in a good place, but Monaco is obviously quite tricky, and I suspect cars like Red Bull may be quite good with the downforce levels there. But first and foremost, have to go ahead and choose a brand new sponsor. Sudo expired, but honestly, I'm going to go for them again, because it is just such a good sponsor. If you can do it yourselves in your career modes, I implore you to choose them, because it is a really good one. Easy to do in FP1, just get the fast slap in FP1 on soft tyres. They have a decent weekly income, the goal bonus is pretty high, and it's, compared to the other ones, a more guaranteed, you know, sponsor that you can definitely get every single week. I know there are others, you know, qualifying P4 and above, getting a podium maybe. I'm just not fully confident yet in the team and myself that we can do that every single race, so we're going to watch out for that. But into this episode, ironically, for the first time ever, a durability upgrade failed on me. The internal combustion engine durability upgrades failed on us. It was a minor upgrade as well, so it wasn't even that important. We didn't rush it as well. We did a standard development because I knew it was going to come in for the Monaco Grand Prix in terms of there was enough time, basically. So in hindsight, maybe we should have just risked it and rushed it. Maybe it could have got through that way. So that was a bit frustrating in a sense of, I'm not fussed about durability as it stands right now, but in the grand scheme of things, you never like to have any failure fail on you, and it was surprising to see a durability one fail, because last year, and pretty much in the previous F1 games, it was very rare for a durability upgrade to fail, if ever, really. But we go through now the week running up to Monaco in terms of the activity timeline. I'm going to go for some G-Force training for Sainz, as he's, I think, 89 rated as it stands, so trying to just push him a little bit higher if we can, or just maintain his decent stats. A sponsor event there, which will be a conference, and then also going to go for a second driver PR filming, because that seems like really the only one that seems worthwhile in terms of not losing morale on other departments like the other activities we've got there, and also technically boosting Sainz's acclaim helps our acclaim, of course, because the higher he is, the higher bonuses he gets at the end of every race for boosting that overall team acclaim. But of course, it'll also make him more valuable, which might actually cost us a little bit more money when we come to renew him. But it's all kind of obviously, you know, it all works in tandem there. But you can see he's 89 rated. We've got 8.74 million in the bank. Speaking of cash, so at this stage, still looking to save money. You know, Sainz's contract's 8.07 million. It's gone up since we signed him because he's become a better driver, of course, with those stats boosts. So we need to have 8 million in the bank to sign him, where that red bar is for the contract negotiation. So we're about 2/3 or maybe halfway through till that period. So we don't need to actually technically have 8 million right now, but I just definitely want to play it a bit safer. I don't want to be in a situation where we're trying to scramble money in the last 2 episodes on the run-up to that contract period, and maybe just on the edge not having enough money to re-sign him. So just not going to take any risks, so not going to invest in the HQ quite yet. Well, I think we'll go into that next episode, because by the time we get to that one, we should have a decent amount of money, around 11 million to 12 million potentially, because you can see we get weekly income. We're already now over 10 million, but unfortunately, the major ERS upgrade I wanted to get in failed on the car. So we chose standard development for that one, again, because I didn't feel like we needed to rush it, and now it's failed. So we have to go for standard development again. That'll come in for the next time. I actually made a mistake last episode. I thought last episode that the Canadian Grand Prix was going to be after Monaco, but actually I forgot they changed the calendar around in the what was going to be the original 2020 calendar pre-COVID. Azerbaijan is actually next, so that will actually help us out at Azerbaijan as well, having more overtake mode to use, but that will have to wait till next time. Won't be a massive issue at Monaco though, because obviously there's not too many straights where we're going to need to deploy away a lot of overtake mode. So if it had to fail anywhere, I would have chosen this race at least. But like I said, Monaco was happy hunting grounds for us last time, so I'm looking forward to this one. I think we can do really well here. In terms of the R&D chart, though, Ferrari have improved just a smidge, so I said we might have some threat from Red Bull, because they're just a good team on downforce, but Ferrari are now punching back a little bit with a tiny upgrade, so they may be more competitive. So even though I'm looking forward to this one and positive about it, you've got teams around us starting to make a real move. Racing Point's a good case in point. They've shot up by 3 places. They've not even upgraded that much, really, in the last 2 episodes. Like, not a huge amount, but they've jumped up 3 places. They're ahead of McLaren, AlphaTauri, and Red Bull. And McLaren, just because they've plateaued and because everyone is so close now in that kind of midfield to upper tier fight, McLaren, they're still right there. You can see they're ahead of Renault and Alfa Romeo. I think you would agree they're in that same pack, but they look so much worse on the right-hand side there because they're below AlphaTauri and Red Bull because everything's so close. So even if you don't upgrade for 1 or 2 races, you're going to slip down the pecking order. So it's once again going to be a close one, but qualifying is going to be so crucial, of course. It's the most crucial qualifying of the entire year, so it's going to be very important to try and get track position. We saw last season it was difficult to overtake at times. You know, the cars, the AI are so good now at making themselves wide, so it's going to be a real issue. Speaking of qualifying, before we get into that, you can see I'm just swapping over components to the first column ahead of practice. This is, I'm not going to show you practice as I haven't been the entire time, but obviously I just go through practice with the worn engine parts. But I want to kind of clarify my my issue with the last episode. A lot of you were letting me know in the comments below why I got the penalties. I know parc ferme is a thing, guys. I've been watching F1 for many years. I know parc ferme is a thing, but you've got to remember the game has entirely different mechanics, and for the last 4 years, I think 4 years, ever since they brought in these engine columns, for the last 4 years, parc ferme has never applied in the same way it does in real life in the engine department. From quali to the race, you've always been able to change components freely as long as you're within your allocation. Like, as in, if you're within these ones they give you originally at the start of the season, you can do that. You have been able to do that in the last 4 years. So in this year's game, I mean, it seems like they may have changed it, but the thing is, in real life, even with parc ferme, if you change a part and it's identical part for part and it's for safety reasons or like wear reasons, parc ferme, I'm pretty sure the FI allow you to do that if it's for safety. Obviously, it's a different issue if it's just a worn part. That might be a different thing, but that's real F1. In the game I'm talking about, I know how it works in real life. In the game, though, it's never been like this, so that caught me off guard majorly last episode, and it probably will do again, because unlike in real life, with the game, you know, you could be flicking through these menus in like 5 seconds and just, you know, by mistake go to qualifying with worn engine parts, which I have done previously in previous games on the F1 game. I've mistakenly forgot to change my components around. Obviously, in real life, it's a long, arduous process of changing engine parts and stuff like that, so you make sure you obviously get through. There's never been an instance in real life where a driver mistakenly drives out with the wrong engine parts. So I feel like in the game, it's a bit odd for them to now change it after 4 years, but it is what it is. We'll live and learn, and we'll move on for it. So we will go now into qualifying. Q1 will just be a case of trying to get through, obviously, into Q2. The first lap I did was not that great. I was still dialing to the circuit. It's one of those circuits where, you know, the driver makes the difference, of course, and very much you have to really work yourself into the corners and, you know, find your limits and get comfortable with everything. That first lap just wasn't that great. The second one, much better, gaining a decent amount of time, especially through Raskas, getting a lot of... I must have gone so slow through there on the first lap then. So we're going to go up into P8 it will be, and we will make it through into Q2 nice and easy. And just like in Q1, Q2 will also just be getting through into the next portion of the Saturday, thankfully for our team in terms of where the car is. No point doing anything clever on the tyres as well, because Monaco will indefinitely just be a one-stop from the softs to the mediums. So just going to go out there on one set of soft tyres, hopefully get through on one set so I can have 2 runs in that top 10 shootout. So here we are, much better lap time, and we actually go fastest of all in that session. So that brings me a lot of confidence. Science up there, and you can see it's actually really close, really close at the top end. So Q3 could be very tasty, and I don't know, we might have a short pole. You know, we don't get pole positions often. I don't qualify very well often, but at the moment the car's going well. I'm going well around Monaco, but Hamilton looks strong. I said Verstappen. What did I say? The Red Bulls look okay, with Verstappen right up there as well. And it's good to see a nice mix there. Also, just making it in at the bottom, both AlphaTauris, Gasly, Perez, and also Albon out-qualifying his teammate to get it through with 1 Racing Point car. So this could be quite a fun session. That was until I entered Q3, because...
We've got a situation at the moment. Seems like something's off with the fuel injection system. We're looking into it, but we're going to be out of action for a few minutes.
So we've got a massive fuel system fault of over 7 minutes, or just under 8 minutes. I've never seen a fault this long. I've had a few where they're like, 3 minutes, 2 minutes for electricals, but I've never had a fuel system fault where it's been pretty much most of the session. Remember, Q3 is only 12 minutes, so this will guarantee me only one run. So I saved 2 tyres for this session. In the end, I can only use 1 set, because by the time we run down the clock on that full 8 minutes of a fault, we have got just over 4 minutes left, and that means I only have 1 run, because if I came back in and changed tyres, it would be already too late and too over for me to go out and actually start my flying lap. So there's no point going out right now. We're going to wait a little bit longer, up until about 2 minutes 50, 2 minutes 30, because otherwise I'll be out of sync of everyone. I need to kind of go at the same time as everyone to not hit the traffic, because even though there's only 10 cars in this session, it's still possible to obviously catch up to cars if we go a little bit too early on the run. So here we are then, waiting, going slow as they do in real life at the last corner, finding the space and then going and bolting, as we've got just over 30 seconds left in this session. So the checkered flag will fall on our lap. So into turn 1, taking a lot of curb on the inside there, but this is it. It's basically one-shot qualifying for us here. We can't make any mistakes if we want to try and get on the sharp end here at the Monaco grid. Bit of a lock-up in the hairpin that was, but generally rotating the car pretty nicely, and that corner hooking up the traction a lot better than I ever have done on any lap so far on Saturday, so feeling good. But there you go, the checkered flag has fallen. At the moment, I assume on the Mercedes cars is on pole. I think Sainz is right up there though, maybe potentially on the second or first row, because I can't see him there on the ladder on the top left in the bottom 5. But as we swing through the last corner, opening up DRS, and we run to the line, what is this going to be? Across the line. It was a pretty decent lap, I thought, and in the end it's going to be P2. Not quite the pole position I was looking for, but that's going to be decent enough for me. Second place on the front row. It means we have a really good shot at angling ourselves to maybe overtake Hamilton potentially into turn 1. Sainz right up there in P3. Bit of a weird session though with the time gaps there, but mega for both of us to be there in second and third ahead of most of our rivals really. Even Bottas, I was surprised he's had a bit of a mare there and not doing himself any favours in the championship. And the Red Bull guys really fell away. They must have hit traffic, or they must have just not had a very good 2 laps, basically. They messed that up. I thought they would have been a lot quicker. And to see AlphaTauri out-qualify them in the hands of Sergio Perez is quite funny as well. Obviously, you guys know I always love a good underdog story in Formula 1, so great to see AlphaTauri actually taking the fight to their more senior Red Bull team. But for us, our first second row ever, I think, in the game, because we've had a second row at Abu Dhabi last season when the penalties came in, and obviously second rows anyway for qualifying there. But I don't think we've ever been on the first row ever, so exciting times, looking forward to this one. We have a shot maybe of going for that elusive Monaco win and elusive win in general for us in our My Team career mode. Let's go to the grid.
Formula One returns to Monte Carlo once again today, home to the world-famous Monte Carlo Casino, first opened in 1863. And of course, a certain road race, first held here in 1929. There's no greater an occasion, no more valuable a win than the Monaco Grand Prix. We're on the French Riviera once more this weekend at the 2-mile-long Circuit de Monaco. The cars will climb around 40 metres up the hill, past the casino, and then descend downwards towards the harbour through Sector 2. It's a very short run from pole position to the first of the 19 corners at Saint Devote, and don't expect to see much overtaking here today. Also here, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Can we talk about Mercedes? What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and the owner-driver alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Leclerc, Valtteri Bottas, and Perez, Albon, Verstappen, Ricciardo, and Pierre Gasly, Vettel, Stroll, Lando Norris, and Ocon, Kvyat, Magnussen, George Russell, and Antonio Giovinazzi, Grosjean, Matsushita, Aitken, and Nicholas Latifi. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
So Monaco is quite a gloomy sight then here on Sunday. Overcast for the entire race, which will mean we'll have that same thing we had last season where it almost looks like we're racing at night because the floodlights are going to light up the circuit because it gets so dark and the game can't distinguish between just overcast and nighttime lighting. So that's going to be a bit odd for the entire race then. Thankfully, no 132 penalty to talk about. Just a very simple strategy, like I mentioned. One stop from the soft tyre to the mediums. But the thing is, it is Monaco. So the strategy doesn't mean anything really. Nothing means anything apart from this first part of the race, because honestly we could either win or lose this race at turn 1. We're on the front row and we have a shot at doing this. We need to get a great launch, use all the overtake mode into turn 1, and if we can, try and overtake Hamilton, because if we can, from there, that's a different race entirely. From there, we can control the pace, and then maybe try and go and win this Grand Prix. If we don't, we'll have a much tougher time. We're going to have to try and overtake him actively during the race, which will be difficult because the Mercedes car technically is the better car on paper, and you saw last season it was very tricky even for me to pull off some of my infamous Raskas dive bombs or overtakes around Mirabeau or into turn 1 itself at normal racing speed. So this 5 red lights is going to be a very important moment, so let's psych ourselves up. We're on the front row for the Monaco Grand Prix, the jewel in the Formula 1 calendar, and all I can see ahead of me is Hamilton and those 5 red lights that will go out, and we're underway. And what an electric start! Oh my word, that was the most perfect start I could have ever asked for, and we're into turn 1 in first place. How about that, Hamilton? What a getaway for us. That was, you blink and you missed it. I literally timed that perfectly. And so here we are going through Casino Square, leading the Monaco Grand Prix ahead of Hamilton. Sainz in third place. Behind is Leclerc. Bottas trying to attack him a little bit in the background, I can see. But we go into the hairpin. Look at that lovely sight. It's an absolutely lovely sight to see our car leading the way. As you can see, a Red Bull also on the bottom of your screen trying to go down the inside of a Racing Point car. But this is now, like I said, where the fun begins. Or not really fun. It's kind of tedious. But this is where the winning formula begins potentially for us, because we're in the lead now. We control the pace. It's so hard to overtake in Monaco that we can dictate everyone's pace here as the kind of leader of the train, and I can just make sure I look after my tyres, get this car to the first pit stop, make the pit stop, and then get it home in first place, hopefully. Obviously, we might hit traffic off that first pit stop. That'll be the biggest hurdle, really, for us now, because we've already done half the job, overtaking Hamilton into turn 1, but I cannot get over that start. Let's have a look at a replay here from Hamilton. He goes left to try and cover me off, but look at the launch. It's almost like he misjudged his start, but no, he got a pretty good start as well. You know, obviously the AI get pretty okay starts. They don't, you know, ever bog down that much, and they don't ever mistime their starts, but it's just the launch I got was immense. Sainz there in third place. Leclerc, like I said, was being attacked by Bottas, and he goes down the inside at Casino Square, but here's a replay of my start in slow-mo, and look at this. As my wheels turn, the lights go out. Like, literally, there's 0.001 seconds in between that. That was literally the perfect start I have ever gotten on this game, or probably even the last 3-4 F1 games there. So we're rewarded with first place. Meanwhile, then back to the race a few laps later. Lap number 4 this season, the first stint, focusing on Carlos Sainz there on board right now as he goes through the right-hander before the tunnel, and there's a big tank slapper, and Leclerc is just waltzing past on the right-hand side. So the Ferrari now is in third place. Sainz makes an error. You know, it's been uncharacteristic, really. He's been a very good teammate. He's made, obviously, one error, massive error at Vietnam at Hanoi when he went out the Grand Prix with a spectacular crash. But that was another bad mistake there. The rear end steps out, hitting some tyre wear, and so the Ferrari of Leclerc up into P3. So it's now myself, Hamilton, Leclerc, Sainz, Bottas. I believe then you can see there the AlphaTauri is ahead of both Red Bull cars. I think Perez doing a great job to get ahead of both of them, and then being chased after by a Racing Point car of Stroll, I believe, as Albon's also in the mix there ahead of Perez in the running order. But the only thing that matters to us is we're in first place there, as you can see, and we continue to just do a decent job. The gap is 2.8 now on the our top left there. Through the corners, Hamilton is closing up a little bit here and there. There are sections of the circuit where Hamilton brings down the time, but then every straight, you know, even with the lack of that last ERS upgrade that failed on our car at the start of this episode, we've still got enough upgrades where I'm using a lot of ERS here down this main straight and also up the hill, and we're just gaining the time back. Eventually, the tyre wear does start to kick in. Lap 11 this this. As you can see, the rear end is really now snapping out a little bit, and the understeer is kicking in. Hamilton's brought the gap down to 1.3, so he's caught me whilst the tyre wear has been hitting me a little bit worse than him, I guess, but we're going to come in. He's going to come in as well, so we both are in the same time, so whatever traffic I hit, he will hit as well. So that's the only good thing here, is we're going to be in the same boat, but that's going to be a big question mark and worry for me now, and Hamilton, of course, is what kind of traffic will we hit? Where are we going to be? Because it doesn't really matter what car you're in here on the grid, you will be able to hold up people because it's Monaco. So if we get behind some real slow cars, that'll be an issue, but it doesn't look likely as we come out in P6 then, very lofty still, having done one pit stop, I must say, and we come out ahead of Kvyat then, so we did miss some slow traffic, and behind Lance Stroll. You know, I know Stroll's been a little bit slower than Albon, it's still a pretty quick car, so I don't think we'll have much of an issue. And actually, Hamilton's come out 2 cars back from us, so he's got to get through Kvyat and that McLaren of Ocon, I believe, before it even gets to us. So that ought to be good use for us, but let's try and still overtake these cars ahead of us if we can, because they're all on mediums. So even these guys, even the Ferrari and the Red Bull up ahead of us, I think they qualified in Q2 on mediums, so they're going a little bit longer in this Grand Prix, but they're still facing tyre wear. As you can clearly see, Stroll, the rear end stepped out, we're side by side in the tunnel, bit of contact made there, but fully alongside now, out the tunnel, into the next left-hander. Stroll really pushed us wide, we have to cut the corner, so we have to let him through, because if I overtook him there, it would have been unfair, but Stroll pretty much forced my hand to cut the corner there, because he gave me no room to work with on the left-hander, but it was a real big issue for him on the rear end there. I was surprised, really, because even though, yeah, he's on mediums that are wearing out, it's still not that far into his stint, so I was surprised he's hitting that much tyre wear at the moment, but it was a really nice effort in the tunnel, but it was a bit hairy as well because we made some contact with him at high speed. But now we'll wait till turn 1, DRS, ERS down the inside, and we're going to hit the curb and get a great apex and great launch off that corner. More importantly, to get up into P2 it is, as a few more people ahead of us pit, and so all we've got left between ourselves and P1 on the road is Sebastian Vettel, whereas I've got 3 cars now between me, between myself and Hamilton, of Stroll, Ocon and Kvyat in the Renault. And so we move on to lap number 15 then, just about halfway through this Grand Prix, catching up to the Ferrari then. So he's still going on for a few further laps. I'm not too sure what lap around he would pit from the medium tyres, because I'm not actually sure what his strategy would alter be, if he's going on to hard or soft tyres. But through the next right-hander, a wobble for the Ferrari, and we definitely made a little bit of contact there, so the nose cone may be a little bit damaged on the front end, but thankfully no damage on the front wing, I don't think, with Vettel there, but getting a little bit hairy, and he's actually going really slow now. He's hitting a lot of tyre wear, so I need to get past him because he's slowing me down too much. And even though Hamilton is still behind those 3 cars, I don't want to leave anything to chance in terms of being slowed down by a Ferrari here at this stage of the GP. Lap 17 now, we're looking to make a move. I can sense he's so we're pretty much pushing him through all these corners. We go down the inside of Mirabeau. It's a big dive there. We get alongside tap tyres, but he's still kept his foot in on the left and makes some more contact on the left-hand side, and it's going to get so close on the right. We have to try and cut in because there's no way I could have made that side by side on the outside of the hairpin. I had to back out that one. There was no way I was going to make that work, because otherwise there would have been a horrendous crash on a pile up there. So instead I have to wait until we go through Raskas into the last corner and looking to get a good launch, and just like we did against the Racing Point car, maybe overtake him on the inside into turn 1. We're a little bit far back, but big dive bomb down the inside, so close on the left, and Vettel loses the rear end and his front wing taps my side pod there, but we make it work. It was quite fine to be honest, very, very sketchy I felt going down the inside there because I was a bit far back like I said, but we made it work and we're up into P1 once again on the road, and now we are going to the end of the Grand Prix in this condition here, and Hamilton is still 4 cars back from me now. Vettel, Stroll, Kvyat, Norris it was, sorry, I thought it was Ocon all along, but it was Norris, but he will have to try and just wait, well, either overtake them or wait until they pit, which on lap 19 they still haven't done. They're still going long, so maybe these guys are all pitting onto a set of soft tyres maybe for the remainder of this Grand Prix, but for us then, we have a bit of an issue though. It's not plain sailing. Look at the bottom right. Our front left of the front wing is slightly lime green, so we've got some damage there. And I was wondering why I was actually feeling some understeer at a few corners. So I must have got that damage when I tried to go side by side with Vettel through Mirabeau. You know, in the little pinch left and right into the hairpin where we made some contact on the left. I think that's when a lot must have hit him a little bit. And even though visually speaking, there's no damage on the left-hand side of the front wing, I can see from like replay cameras and whatnot, there's definitely some damage. As you can see, it's light lime green there, and I can actually feel the understeer. So it's not a disaster, because Hamilton is still a good 10 seconds back, I think, at this stage of the GP. So we've got 19 laps to go. It's a question of, will this damage slow me enough, and will Hamilton be quick enough on his mediums to catch that time gap up? And yeah, the gap is 10 seconds, and we've got 18 laps. So he's going to have to gain a decent amount of time per lap to catch me up here. So I'm still feeling pretty comfortable, but you just never know, really. And as I go on through the Grand Prix, the tyres start to wear a bit more, so the tyre will kick in. And I will admit, it's not the easiest car to drive ever. The damage, I can definitely feel it on the left-hand side. So it's not like it's a non-issue, but I also think we can cover it off, basically. And that's exactly what we're going to do as we move on to lap 36, the keyword being covering off. The situation is 3 laps to go. You can clearly see Hamilton is behind me by 0.7 seconds there. Leclerc 2.5 back. So over the course of those 18 laps, or the 15 laps that have gone so far, Hamilton has caught me up, and he's trying his best to overtake me. Into Raskas we go, and Hamilton dives it down the inside. You see his front wing pinned on the bottom right of your screen there. So that was the first time ever I've seen an AI car try my Raskas dive down the inside. Look at him go! He actually gets fully alongside. He tried to skate his way through, but I think what the issue for him was, I think his rear end hit the curb on the inside, because otherwise he was using me as a bit of a wall barrier to rotate his car through the corner. So that was very, very odd. It was great to see, to be fair, the AI try a very human-like pass on the inside, the dive on the inside of Raskas, but in the end, we're going to hold station, soak up the pressure, and we're going to swing through on towards the last sector of the last lap of this Grand Prix. 39 laps. It's been a long old time here, but we are coming through towards our very first race victory in the F1 2020 My Team career mode. Our first win for our own team, Aarava Archer Racing, and also the first time I've won a Monaco Grand Prix in a career mode for about a whole game and a half here, across the line. And we are the kings of Monaco. We have the crown today, and that is very, very satisfying. Surprising as well. I did not think my first race win in this career mode would come at Monaco, because like I said, I never actually won Monaco in a career mode on last year's game. On F1 2019, I did not get a single win at Monaco, and it became a bogey circuit for me for winning base. I could never do it against the AI. But here we are. We've won it. Our first race win for our own team. Oh, fine. It feels good to break the duck.
So, Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Well, I'm thoroughly exhausted after the excitement of that race, but I'm sure it's nothing compared to our drivers here. They've worked hard to make it up there, and it's great to see them make their way out onto the podium.
So there we have it. For the first time, we get to see our character do the selfie podium celebration in career mode for our first race win, spraying the champagne, top step of the podium in the Principality. Mega stuff.
Great work out there today. Let's have your thoughts. You took the top points today. Was it a comfortable win?
Yes, it was a pretty comfortable win. Of course, I know we had some damage, but all things considered, it was pretty comfortable. I'm going to allude that to our downforce. The Aero team doing a great job.
Well, looks like your luck has changed. Things went a lot better than last weekend, didn't they?
Our luck very much did change. I couldn't really answer this a great way to the way I wanted to, so I just thought I'd compliment the engine side, since we complimented the Aero just earlier then, but it was a lot luckier than last time.
The team must be ecstatic with how you're performing.
Well, yes. I mean, I'm the team owner, Claire, so I'm ecstatic for my own team. So, yeah, I'm happy.
How do you think your rival feels about today?
And I'm just going to say it's a decent battle between Seb. He's enjoying it, I'm sure. It was actually a really good battle between Sebastian. Minus the contact, obviously the damage, still a really good fight.
Great. Well, that's everything.
So it's been a while since I've shown one of the interviews with Claire in one of these episodes, but I thought it'd be worthwhile since it is our race victory, our very first race victory interview post-race. But there we have it then. Hamilton, with that win, Bottas was out the points. So with that second place for Hamilton, he gets up into the lead of the championship by 1 point. So Bottas really bottling what was a really strong start for him this year. For us, we remain in P3. Sainz up into P4 because he did finish in P4 as it was in the race behind Leclerc on the podium. So that's a very strong position for both our guys, myself and Sainz, to be up in third and fourth, basically the next best from the two Mercedes guys, and we're next best obviously in the constructors in second place. Still quite a fair few points away from Mercedes. I still don't think we're going to be challenging them at all this season, but it's really good to be very comfortable against the likes of Red Bull, Ferrari, and all the rest really. But they continue to try and get better and better, and I can foresee a little bit now. I can already tell that I think we're getting to a point in the season where maybe our R&D might slow down a little bit because we're saving money for the HQ, saving money for Sainz also for that contract period eventually in 5 episodes time or whatnot, and also the rate of upgrades has been slower anyway in the last 2-3 episodes, so I think we might be a little bit challenged by a few other teams as we've gone through these episodes, which is going to be quite fun. Obviously we need to be a little bit careful in terms of just making sure we keep that consistency that myself and Sainz have pretty much had all season, apart from maybe Hanoi when he DNF'd, to maintain those points in the constructors. But we get a nice decent 1.34 million in the bank from bonuses. Obviously some damage deductions because we did lose a bit of our front wing on the left hand side, but it doesn't matter. We're now over 12 million. But what matters here today is this was our episode. It's the first race win of our entire My Team career mode. Sainz already won a race for our team in general, but this is our first race win in this career mode series. And like I said, the first time I've won Monaco in like over a year and a half in a career mode series. So I'm so happy to finally break that kind of bogey kind of run we've had with the Principality. So guys, if you did enjoy that episode, then be sure to smash that like button indefinitely for that first race victory for myself. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you aren't around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of the day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.